Good evening and welcome to the Underground Racing League. The Underground Racing League is a league for the top 50 teams according to Zwift Power Ranking. Tonight we're in Innsbruck. It's the Innsbruck Ring, 2 laps, 17.9 kilometers, and we've got a new team joining us for tonight, and that's Next, powered by Ensured. So it's going to have some hot racing in tonight's league. Now, I apologize, it's just me for the commentary tonight. Kevin is on holiday currently, so you're stuck with my vocals and the overview of the race. Now, let's take a quick look at the race or the league standings so far. So as we can see, Team Mutant are leading the team standing so far with 161 points, with NZ Bro Esports Racing Team coming a close second on 158. Then BL13 rounding up to the top 3 with 156 points. Now, interesting to see as Next have joined this league 3 races into the series. It'll be interesting to see if those guys can close the gap. Now, let's jump in and take a look at the action. I believe we've got about 15 seconds before the start of the race. And as we get going, I will give you a bit of an overview of the teams and the riders taking part in tonight's event. So, as I said, we're on the Innsbruck Ring, 17.9 kilometers. And we have got that standout feature in this course, which, of course, is the leg snapper. At 600-meter climb. Now, let's jump into the action and take a look what's going on. So as you can see, we're out on course already. And we're riding with Bradley here from BL13 initially. Let's jump to the front of the race, see if we've got any early actions. We often do with these short races with these top teams. And straight away we can see Electric Spirit taking it up early here. And this is Greenstein from Electric Spirit. Electric Spirit joined us for the first time last month, and that was over in New York, and we did finish that course with a little bit of a leg snapper of its own right at the end. As you can see, we've got just about 17 kilometers to go with just 1 minute in the race here, and we've got 4 riders in front. We've got Keller from Next. We have Greenstein from Electric Spirit. Andy Nichols here from BL13, a constant figure towards the front of these races. And then we have Bailey also from Electric Spirit out in front. Now, I can just see here that we've got Tabalong, Adil Tabalong, sitting here from NZ Bro, just at the front of the group with his teammate Aaron Bleakley. Tabalong, it's worth pointing out here, has won the first 2 races solo in these events so far for the Underground Racing Series. So it's Tabalong and Aaron Bleakley there at the front of the race. Let's have a look, but we're all together. So we have 28 riders all together in the peloton tonight. Let's take a look at these teams in a little bit more detail if we can. As we're just going to follow the riders round on this first lap of the Innsbruck Ring. So we have BL13, we have NZ Bro Electric Spirit, Next powered by Ensure joining us this evening, and we should also see Mutant riders in the mix here as well. As Mutants so far are leading the team standings, but as I've said, it is Adil Tabalong from NZ Bro who has taken the individual victories on the last couple of races, and indeed we can see Mutant there in the black and grey jerseys respectively. NZ Bro all in black tonight, BL13 in their usual multi-coloured Bontrager kit, and then Next powered by Insure in their green, black and blue kit there. So let's take a look if we've got any action early on in the front of the race here. We can see it is pretty strung out already in tonight's race. In fact, we've got a split, and it is Andy Nichols and Greenstein pushing a pace. Andy Nichols at 7.6 watts a kilo there. We can take a look. We've got a few riders next. Barry from Next Insured and Greenstein from Electric Spirit still hanging around the front, leaving Bleakley still on the front for NZ Bro, just trying to close this gap. This is something I would expect from Andy Nichols here. Well known for a great VO2 max and threshold rider. But just easing off the pressure, easing back to the group here and leaving the three riders, Barry, Greenstein and Bleakley now out in front. Let's just see what happens with this gap. Just 3 seconds the lead currently. It's always the case here with these short format races that we do see some early action, which is why we try and keep the distance short with some interesting features also in the mix every single month. These races are running every month, the third Friday of every month here for the Underground Racing Series. So let's take a look at the early action. We won't be too long now before we hit the leg snapper for the first time. The leg snapper coming at around about 5.5 kilometers into the course, and again it is just a 600-meter climb. So in terms of representation tonight, we have Aaron Bleakley, Oliver Greenstein from Electric Spirit, Richard Barry, Stephen Kenny from Mutant, Tom O'Dan also from Mutant. But out in front here, it's Barry, Greenstein, Bleakley, and I believe Andy Nichols should also be here. Indeed, Andy Nichols, and you can see this gap going out to 6 seconds. So an early break here, just 4 kilometers into the race. This is going to be really interesting. Are these guys going to manage to push the pace over the leg snapper? 4 is a good number to have in this early break here. Now, who is going to be left chasing? So I think it's just Mutant so far who don't have a rider in this front 4 as the gap goes out to 7 and 8 seconds respectively. So good racing here from BL13 Electric Spirit next and NZ Bro. It is great to see an Electric Spirit rider in this early move because they missed the move last month on the Underground Racing Series. So not missing out this time in this early move. And it was a couple of those early moves that were quite decisive in the results in previous weeks. Really interesting. So as we get these top riders here in the A and A plus categories, still got the energy as they're pushing 6 or 5 or 6 watts a kilo to have a chat amongst themselves here. But we've got 4 teams represented out in front. BL13 next, powered by Ensure, NZ Bro and Electric Spirit. It's good also to see Aaron Bleakley back and firing on all cylinders. And as we are approaching the leg snapper for the first time, let's take a look at what's happening with this early action. So it is Barry and Greenstein pushing the action quite early on the leg snapper. 10 watts a kilo here as we make 10 watts per kilogram here as we make the way up the first time up this leg snapper. 2 times up this climb this evening. And we can see this gap has rapidly closed down here as the major groups start to pull these 4 riders back together. So Greenstein, Barry, Andy Nichols and Aaron Bleakley being pulled back into the main peloton. And we see James Young here from Mutant as well, continuing with the 9, drop back to 7 watts a kilo. Greenstein wants to keep the pressure on, rolling over the top, 4 watts a kilo. Or kilogram, should I say. But he is going to get sucked straight back into this main group as we see the riders super tuck in here to close that gap down. And we're all back together. It's all parity at the front here. So let's take this opportunity to have a look at a few of these other riders here. I don't expect too many of the riders here to be pushing as we descend down this climb. We continue to super tuck here. Let's just check on a few of these riders, and it's great to get Next involved this time. Richard Barry, one of these riders, joining us. He obviously represented, and he was in the Worlds. He represented Ireland in the Worlds this time round. Had some fantastic results earlier this season, and continuing to get the results as he continues with the KISS Racing League this season also. But all parity, no points here to be had on the sprint. This is all about the finish line sprints. So it's all about team tactics. Are we going to see some early moves once again as we're into the first, or we're still in the first 7 kilometers, should I say? So just over 10 kilometers remaining in this race. So the riders tonight, we've got BL13, we've got Tim Bradley, Jeremy Lithgow, Andy Nichols, Thomas Berry, Grant Womack, of course, and Keith Robertson. So a little bit of a different lineup this tonight for BL13. Had a fantastic week packing the numbers last month and the month before when we were in Watopia. BL13 always packing several riders there in the top 10, but still searching for the individual win this evening. So we're just going to ride along with Bleakley here from NZ Bro, and we're all together. This is Thomas Bradley from BL13. BL13 in their distinctive Bontrager kit, as I've said. We can see D. Rath there from Electric Spirit. It's great to see Electric Spirit. 5 riders in the fold here. Adam Bailey, Ray Wilson, Dominic Rath, Oliver Greenstein, Tim Humpton, also featuring last month's race, and Matthew James of Electric Spirit. And bro, we got Thomas Williams. Thomas Williams, Aaron Bleakley, Joshua Haggerty once again, Adil Tabalong and Jan Lichwag also featured in the previous races of the Underground Racing League. And we're all still together here. A fairly modest 3.5 watts a kilo here from Bradley. Let's take a ride along with Kenny from Mutant, also representing Ireland here. And then once again, Greenstein sitting on the front here from Electric Spirit, 4.5 watts a kilo. We're 8.5 kilometers into the race. And we'll be coming past the start-finish line here to complete the first lap of this UCI course in Innsbruck. And we have some action off the front. Are we seeing some action here from BL13? Indeed, Grant Womack on the front here, 6.5 watts per kilogram. I think it's Aaron Bleakley there closing the gap down. And Greenstein once again working hard on the front, closing that gap. Andy Nichols, 9.5 watts a kilo there, trying to get across to this move. So we're going to see 2 BL13 riders in this front group of 5 at the moment. Just opening up a small gap, 30 meters, 25 meters to the next group. Let's have a look. No gap at all here. These guys are going to get pulled straight back into the action. Really not letting any riders go away too early here. And you can see we're all back together. So from next Esher, let's take a look at their lineup. We've got Greg Abbott, Brad Greenberg, John Byrne. Who else we got? Keller, Hernandez. Also in the fold for next. Let's check out the Mutant team. We've got Vidal, Kuba Standatsky, a regular featured rider here in the Underground Racing League. We've got Tom O'Donnell, we saw early on in those moves. James Young, who we've seen pretty active so far. Stephen Kenny of Ireland. And Bas Noel also there, representing the Netherlands for Mutant. So we're having a little bit of action at the front of the race, but we're not going too far at the moment. Let's move away up towards the front of the race here. Greenstein once again, as expected, at the front of the race, along with Hernandez, Adil Tabalong, Bradley also from BL13 here. One big group so far. Be interesting. Are we going to see some moves of the leg snapper for the second time, or are we all going to have parity and stay together for that final sprint, that flat finish? Very visible sprint finish here that we get in Innsbruck. And once again, we're seeing Electric Spirit with James push off the front. And Barry from next doing the work and closing that gap and continuing the move with 8 watts a kilo off the front. So Barry here moving off the front of the race. I think he's hoping to get a few riders join him again. Is it going to be the same guys we saw before with Greenstein and Bleakley from NZ Bro? Aaron there, regular rider to close these gaps. Aaron just doing the work again, making sure Tabalong has his chance in that final couple of kilometers. We've not seen a big sprint from Tabalong yet. His moves have come a little bit earlier than waiting for that final sprint. And again, we've got 4 riders just trying to push away from the front. Greenstein, Adil Tabalong, Aaron Bleakley, and James Young just pushing off the front here. And Barry still sitting on the front, or with this front group of riders, should we say, with the DT Swiss disc wheel and what looks like the Specialist S-Works, indeed. James Young just trying to open that gap from those riders behind in that main group. Just pushing the pace, so we can see a few riders here just upping the pace. 8-9 watts a kilo, just trying to open up these gaps. So these guys just doing a bit of work for their teammates behind. We're still sitting on with Barry here from Next, powered by Ensure. James Young, Greenstein, Adil Tabalong, and Noel here from Mutant on the front. But we're all together. BL13 coming over the top with Andy Nichols and Thomas Berry here. We're going to see some moves from these guys. And again, Barry and Greenstein upping the pace. They want this move to go. They don't want a big sprint finish here. So we can see, I think we've got 7 riders just trying to move away from the main peloton here. So we've got Noel Nichols, Barry, Greenstein, Tabalong, and Hernandez also from Next. Let's take a look. So Andy Nichols, Thomas Berry doing a job for BL13. 3 riders off the front. We've got Noel from Mutant. In fact, we're on with Thomas Berry now. Barry from Next, powered by Ensure, and Andy Nichols here from BL13. Really interesting now. So what do we got? We got 6 riders off the front here. Greenstein, Young, Hernandez, Adil Tabalong, Barry and Thomas Berry, and Andy Nichols also in the mix here for BL13. So not too long now, as you see, we head on to these cobbled section, which means we are getting closer and closer to the leg snapper for the second time round. These riders now got a 3 and 4 second gap respectively over the chase group. Is this going to be enough? These guys are going to have to put their foot down and push on those pedals a little bit harder up this leg snapper if they want to extend this gap. Given that descent just after the climb, a group with 25 riders behind is likely to close it down unless these guys can really kick on up this climb. But I do expect to see some action from the main peloton also, as we continue to see Greenstein, Young, Barry, Tabalong, and Hernandez, and Andy Nichols, of course, from BL13 push the pace. This gap is moving out to 5-6 seconds. But is this going to be enough to extend the gap as we head now towards the leg snapper? So we're going to zigzag, head over the bridge here. We've got a left, right, and then we're on to the leg snapper. 400-meter effort up this climb. I expect to see numbers in double figures here in terms of watts per kilogram. So BL13 with 2 riders. Next, powered by Ensure with 2 riders. And here we go. Andy Nichols, Barry, Greenstein, Hernandez, and Young pushing the pace with Adil Tabalong just holding on the back here. Push on, guys. Get yourselves over the top of this climb. This gap holding at 5 seconds. Tabalong riding over the top, as you can see here. These riders still all together, still with a 5-second gap. So it's Adil Tabalong wanting to continue with this work at 9 watts a kilogram. Berry also the same. Young, James Young from Mutant, hanging on in there. So we're still there. 6 riders over the top. Push on. Let's extend this gap. You're going to have to push on this descent, guys, if you want to keep this lead over the chasing 24 riders. As we descend, as we can see the riders super tuck recover, and then expect as the road flattens off, are we going to see them push on? 4 watts a kilo, 5 watts a kilo, 8.7 watts a kilo on the front. It's Tabalong, it's Berry pushing the pace. They know they've got to increase the power here and maintain the speed. So far, the gap is sticking at 6 seconds. Is this going to be enough? The road is very flat now. We're going to descend towards the sprint banner, but no sprint today, remember. No sprint points. It's all about the finish line, and we're into the final 3 kilometers. So 3 kilometers to go in this race now. We're going to see some teamwork from Next and BL13 and that chasing peloton to slow those riders down. I don't expect so. We can see Cuba from Mutant on the front, pushing the pace, 4.5 watts a kilo. The gap is coming down. 3 seconds now, the gap. Let's take a look. And there they are. The peloton are breathing down the neck of these 7 riders. But I do expect to see some more movement from Adil Tabalong, Thomas Berry. And there we go. As I say, Adil Tabalong ups the pace. 6-7 watts a kilo. He wants to continue. Is he going to draw Thomas Berry into the move also from BL13? We can see this gap is once again increasing. 5 seconds. NZ Bro, you got Lichwalk in the chasing group, 11.5 watts a kilo. Along with Kuba Standatsky again, 10 watts a kilo, just trying to jump across to the front. 7 riders here, but it's still Berry, Young, Tabalong, Greenstein, Barry, Andy Nichols, and Hernandez from Next, powered by Insure, pushing the pace. This peloton is not really closing the gap, they're just losing riders. It is extending into one long line as we see another NZ Bro rider make it across, and that's Boone there. Also, Brune also from Next, powered by Insure. Thomas Bradley also making this across. James Haggerty also there. Very powerful sprint from James Haggerty as we approach the final kilometer of this race. And it's Andy Nichols on the front here, 7 watts a kilo. Just pushing the pace here, doing some work, no doubtedly, for his teammate Thomas Berry, who's also there. This group here, maybe 10 riders, I think will stay away. So let's stay on the front here with Andy Young, James Young and Andy Nichols on the front. But they've got to be careful because you've got Brune here from Next also just sitting on the back of this group with Barry from Next. James Haggerty doing what we expect, sat on the front of this group, ready to make his sprint. They will get sight of the finish line here as we start to curve round this left-hand bend. We've got around about 800, 900 meters to go here to the finish line. We're starting to see some orange numbers. Brune and Berry here, upping into the orange with 8-9 watts a kilo, just closing that gap, making sure they've got the draft and they don't move too early in the sprint. Andy Nichols up in this pace, and it's Barry making his move here with this sprint. So Barry out front, 9.8 watts a kilo off the front. Thomas Berry chasing hard, but here comes Adil Tabalong, 15 watts a kilo. The same also from Thomas Berry. But it's Adil Tabalong, 16.5 watts a kilo. Is he going to get done on the line here? James Young and James Haggerty, as we expect, pushing the pace. And it's James Haggerty from NZ Bro, I believe, taking the win there. Or did Brune take the victory as we cross that finish line? We're going to try and jump over to Zwift Power and take a look at these results as we can. But what a race there. Those 7 riders all in the mix as we cross that kilometer to go banner, maintaining that gap over the chasing group. I think in the end that gap was around about 10 seconds there, with about 10 riders in the mix for that final sprint, with Tabalong, Barry, James Haggerty and Berry also in the mix there. And I think we saw Brune also from Next, powered by Insure, in the mix. So let's hop across and take a look at these results if you can. So bear with me. We're in my little studio today. I didn't have time to set up the green screen, so we're in my training dojo, as we like to call it. So let's see if we can jump across and take a look at the results here over on the Zwift Power. Here we go. So we have the results for the Underground Racing Series this evening, and the Innsbruck Ring, that 18-kilometer course, 2 laps, and it was Next, powered by Insure, taking the individual victory there, with Brune 22.48 minutes, or 22 minutes 48 seconds there, an average watts a kilo of 4.6. And then we had James Haggerty, who I thought had taken the victory, but just got pipped on the line there, 100th of a second. James Haggerty from NZ Bro taking second place, and Thomas Berry there from BL13 taking third spot. James Young, Adil Tabalong, Cuba Standatsky, Jan Lichwag also making the top 10. Oliver Greenside very active from the start there for Electric Spirit taking 8th. Richard Barry also ensuring that next, powered by Ensure, get another rider in the top 10, with also Jerry Hernandez there rounding out the top 10 and ensuring next get 3 riders in that top 10. So it's got 2 riders from Mutant, 3 riders from NZ Bro, 3 riders from Next, and 1 Electric Spirit and 1 BL13 rounding out the top 10 of tonight's Underground Racing League. Let's see what that makes of the team standings. That does complete the Underground Racing Series Race 3 here in Innsbruck. Don't forget to check out my YouTube channel for the team standings so far, where you can check out the results on the Zwift Power Racing pages, and I will leave a link in the description below. Thank you for watching this. If you want to get involved in the Underground Racing League, then please drop me an email. Again, you'll find those details in the description below. It is simon@levelvelo.cc, and remember, it's for the top 50 teams according to Zwift Power. And hopefully next month we'll also have a ladies race as part of the Underground Racing Series. So have a great evening, have a great weekend, enjoy the rest of your training. Ride on.